Joining me via phone this morning, KrisAnne Hall from the great state of Florida. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. Are you guys warmer than we are? I hope.
It's 46 here. I don't know. But,
no, we're pretty close.
Yeah. I tell you, you do such a great work. You're a constitutional scholar, and some of the blogs you've been writing lately have really been standing out because of the current events. This President Barack Hussein Obama, appointed someone, and he calls it a recess appointment. Now, here's my question to you, a constitutional scholar. If the Senate has not been adjourned, if they're not in recess, how then can this be a recess appointment?
Well, that's the whole point. It can't be, and it's not. And I think we sometimes get pulled into this whole manipulation of words by these crafty attorneys because we somehow want to stand on legal ground with them. But the truth of the matter is, the purpose of a recess appointment was to appoint people in emergency situations, not for presidents to circumvent the constitutional process. So regardless of what they have defined themselves, which they're not in recess, but if they're in a temporary break, okay, it's irrelevant because recess is an emergency appointment, and if they're in a temporary break and they're going to be back on Monday, you don't need an emergency situation between Friday and Sunday.
Yeah, talk a little bit about why that was even a part of our government at one time. My understanding is because in the 1800s, even the 1700s, you had these folks scattered all across America. It took a lot of time to get back to D.C., and you wouldn't want them to come back just for an appointment like this. Is that correct?
Well, that's right. It was a different day. It was a different circumstance, and the real recesses, were at times longer than what our Congress is out on recess, and the things were also different in that that they didn't appear as often, and the people didn't have the opportunity to move as quickly. And my goodness, you could have Congress meet in an emergency situation over Skype if they had to.
Yeah, which is something I don't think that they've even really thought about. When you hear someone like Governor Rick Perry talk about a part-time Congress, what do you think about that idea?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. One of the fundamental principles that our founding fathers believed was that these people had to come home regularly in order to be subject to the very laws that they're passing. You see, they understood that tyranny took place when men became separated from their constituents to such a degree that they no longer felt necessary to meet their needs. I think a lot of people don't realize that when our founding fathers created this government, they created senators under an automatic recall. Senators were not on a 6-year election cycle. They were set up to be recalled and appointed by the state legislators. And they did that so that there would be immediate ramifications or immediate responses from our senators. And they did that on purpose. They did that because our founding fathers realized that if you take people and you put them in situations where they don't have to, and as Richard Henry Lee said, they don't have to answer to private purpose, or they don't have to think of attending the people. They'll only do that when they have to answer, as he said, private purposes, that they'll gradually lose sight of the people, and they'll become corrupted by slow degrees. And that's exactly what we found. They said that the members of Congress must return home and share in the burdens that they impose, so that their own private motives will induce them to make mild laws, to support liberty, and listen to the people. But in 1913, led by the progressives of 1912, who was headed, unfortunately, by a Republican by the name of Teddy Roosevelt, we ratified the 17th Amendment and took our senators off of that recall position frankly, for the same reason that Obama has done this emergency appointment, because it was too inconvenient to have to replace senators that had been recalled. And we lost that power that we had.
Yeah. You know, we elected a president. I say we, America, elected a president in 2008 that shows no regard whatsoever for the Constitution. As we look toward the elections of 2012, is there a candidate, or are there candidates that you think have a good grasp of the United States Constitution and would be faithful to the document?
Well, you know, they each have a grasp of a different part. I don't find one candidate that has a good grasp. You know, I am not. I don't support Ron Paul as a candidate because I don't believe that he. I support Israel, and I don't like the fact that he is such an isolationist. I believe America has way too much to offer. I think that we are responsible for the liberty that we have been given, in that we should be spreading that liberty globally. Do we do it the right way all the time? No, I don't think so. And Ron Paul has a strong misunderstanding of the 10th Amendment and how it applies to states' rights. He has come out and said that he is pro-life, but he cannot support any government action against abortion because of the 10th Amendment. And that is simply a complete misapplication of the 10th Amendment. And I wrote about that on my website and explained to people the real constitutional concept is why that's not applicable.
Yeah.
You know, Rick Perry, I like Rick Perry. I like the conservative nature that he has, but he has a misunderstanding of executive power.
Yes, yes.
And he has taken executive power and created law in a way that's unconstitutional. Mitt Romney is, you know, I mean, my goodness, he's not even a conservative. So I don't even believe in having that debate. And he believes in too many socialist programs. And he again has stood up and said that when he's president, he will pass an executive order to eliminate Obamacare.
Yeah.
That is a completely unconstitutional stand on executive orders. Presidents cannot write law, cannot overturn law, cannot set aside law with executive orders under the Constitution. Just because they have doesn't mean it's right. It's actually tyranny, and presidents have lost their kings have lost their heads over that for generations.
Well, don't you think that's part of our fault as the people, though? Because this is one thing I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day. That the thing that I'm seeing in this presidential race, as opposed to all others, is that we're seeing more and more power granted to the presidential or to the executive branch of our government. We're seeing that we're looking to a president to solve problems, when in reality, the presidency, the executive branch, should not have that kind of power.
Well, we have flipped 180 degrees. We have completely forgotten that we were tasked to be the government. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We are the government. And over these generations, we have, in our prosperity and when things are running well, we thought, you know, this is going great. Let's just let them handle it. Let them drive, and we'll sit back and enjoy the scenery. But in the meantime, you know, that here we are driving down a path. We've been so distracted by the scenery, we have no idea where the driver was taking us, and we've handed over more and more and more power. And the interesting thing about government through the centuries, the 1,000 years of history that I teach that actually went into our Constitution, is that when you give government power, it's never enough. It's sort of like funding entitlements. It's never enough. They will always take more, and they will never, ever give anything back.
Yeah. Wow. I could talk to you all morning long. Of course, your website is KrisAnne Hall.com. You're a constitutional scholar. You do a great job. And are you coming back to Texas anytime soon?
I will be at the Straw Poll in Houston. I'm an on-stage speaker for that, and I'll actually have some breakout sessions where I'll be teaching my constitutional studies. And I will be in Mason, Texas on February 18th teaching my entire seminar.
Wow. All right, we're going to try and get you to Northeast Texas. How's that?
That would be fantastic.
KrisAnne Hall, thank you for joining us this morning. I do appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
ma'am.